10-year-old child raped, gets pregnant. The state of Ohio says it is illegal for her to abort the fetus. And then state officials said it was made up. Here's the man who actually raped that 10-year-old girl. Let's put him up full mass. His name is Gerson Fuentes. This piece of scum violated a 10-year-old child. Let me give you the background to this horrendous story and how politics decided to silence the victim at the center of this international saga, because it did make international news. An Ohio man was arrested on Tuesday for raping a 10-year-old girl who became a central figure in the debate over abortion rights after she reportedly traveled to Indiana to have an abortion when Ohio outlawed the procedure last month. Now remember, the Ohio version of the bill said even in cases of rape and incest, it is still illegal in their state to seek an abortion. So much so that if you attempt, that's a criminal issue. If a doctor helps you, that's a criminal issue now. And a doctor has a duty to report you if you are seeking an abortion, even if you've been raped, okay? They created this law based on what's called a trigger law dynamic. What does that mean? That means they actually passed this law before it was legal for it to become a law. Now, why would someone do that? Number one, Republicans in Ohio, Texas, and other places, they were already aware that the Supreme Court was going to overturn Roe v. Wade. They passed these laws 1 year ago, 2 years ago, some up to 3 years ago. They saw the writing on the wall. While Democrats were still saying, there's no way Roe v. Wade will be overturned. Republicans were passing laws that would have a trigger impact once Roe v. Wade was no more. This also allows for the Republicans to avoid the public relations campaign of getting legislation passed after the fact. So they did it before it was even allowable. So the law becomes automatic without them having to make the case. There's more. An arrest record was found. Court records viewed by the Daily Beast confirm that Fuentes, 27 years of age, was arrested on Tuesday in Franklin County on a felony charge of raping a person under 13. The Columbus Dispatch, who first reported on this arrest, attended Fuentes' arraignment in Columbus on Wednesday. The unidentified girl's plight became national news when the Indianapolis Star quoted a doctor who said a 10-year-old rape victim who was 6 weeks and 3 days pregnant had been forced to travel from her home in Columbus, Ohio to Indiana for an abortion. Her home state had a trigger law that immediately outlawed abortions after 6 weeks once the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. A Columbus detective identified by Dispatch as Jeffrey Hunn testified in court Wednesday that a 10-year-old victim was impregnated and had an abortion in Indianapolis. The victim went out of state to have a medically terminated abortion, he said, according to a video of the arraignment. Fuentes confessed to the rape when he was questioned about it. Now, during this time, when it became a story, Republican Attorney General of Ohio decided to hop his happy ass on Fox News and other conservative media outlets to denounce this story and say it was a hoax, to say it was made up. He's the chief prosecutor of the entire state of Ohio. And he, without evidence, decided to go on national media and defend a rapist. He said it was all just hyperbole. Nothing to see here. Oh, there's no rapist raping a 10-year-old girl in my state. That's what the man said. Put his picture up. The arrest comes after conservative media claimed that the girl's story was made up for political theater. Something parodied by Fox News presenters as recently as Tuesday night, while Fuentes was already in custody. You see that guy there? His name is Dave Yost. He's the state attorney general for Ohio. This character spent much of the last week effectively dubbing the story a hoax, suggesting that he and his office had heard nothing about any such crime being reported in Ohio. He said, and I quote, now remember, this is the chief prosecutor of Ohio. He said, we have a decentralized law enforcement system in Ohio, but we have regular contact with prosecutors and local police and sheriffs, Yost said in a Fox News segment on Monday. Not a whisper anywhere. Yet, this attorney general released a statement yesterday afternoon that did not address his previous comments. So what did this politician who defended a rapist say? We have decentralized law enforcement in Ohio. Yost immediately must apologize, according to Crossman. So Yost went on record yesterday after it was known he was wrong. He sends his sentiment. He shares in the anger. It's one of these, whoa, we should not allow this to happen in Ohio. However, Attorney General, you're the person who said it was a hoax. And without even acknowledging your previous statement, without even acknowledging that what you said and what your office represented was wrong and it was wholly inaccurate and it did not represent the victim, this 10-year-old, nor did it represent the sentiment of who you are as a prosecutor or who you should be as a prosecutor. Instead, you avoided all of that. After implementing a 6-week abortion ban without exemptions for rape or incest, Dave Yost rushed to get himself on national TV to criticize the story of a 10-year-old rape victim, calling the story a fabrication, said Crossman, who is a current state representative in Ohio. Crossman added that Yost must immediately apologize to this young girl, her family, etc. That's not going to happen, okay? The attorney general is not going to apologize. You know why? Because the politics of this movement, so to speak, is stronger than any common sense. You think they're going to start acting as if they have common sense, common decency, common courtesy? You think they're going to say, you know what, I was wrong about that, I need to correct it. We need to go on the record and say this office was inaccurate. They're not going to do that. This is not about protecting life. This is not about protecting some kind of religious dynamic in America. This is all about white male domination. Now remember, not only are they taking away a woman's right to choose in this country, they are also now creating legislation that will make it illegal for women to travel outside of their state where it's illegal to a state where it is legal to exercise their right. That's another violation of the Constitution that will only apply to women. The Constitution says you have the right to interstate travel. It's under the Commerce Clause, look it up. If they pass legislation that limits a woman's ability to go to another state to do what is illegal in their state, but legal in another state, that's another right taken away only from women. We have never seen anything like this before. Have you ever noticed the state of Alabama prosecuting someone who goes to Colorado and smokes marijuana? It's illegal in Alabama to smoke marijuana. It's legal in Colorado. What about gambling? Have we ever known a state to prosecute someone for going out of a state where gambling is illegal to a state where gambling is legal? Have they ever prosecuted the charter bus company that took you from one state where it's illegal to the next state where it's legal? Has that ever happened before? No. Jackson, thoughts on this?
So I think that the first important thing to take note of and to realize is that, let's say that this story was a hoax, like the prosecutor and a few other people, including right-wing pundits in the news, said. Even if this was a fake story, in a population of over 300 million people, these types of things do happen. And these types of things happen, in a number of instances and at scale, because we're dealing with over 300 million people. So these are the types of stories that we're getting ready to see frequently. These are the types of results that we're getting ready to see frequently. And the fact that this doctor is, potentially going to be prosecuted for performing the abortion on this little girl, it's, as we talked about before, it's going to drive other doctors into fear of performing life-saving procedures as well. And also, it's important to point out that, it just goes to show that these people came out immediately and said it's a hoax without any evidence, without even trying to put forth any evidence, how lazy and just small-minded these people really are. But as George Carlin once said, never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups. And that's unfortunately what we're dealing with.
Yeah, and they're so quick to debunk anything that would cause their precious political ideology to become questionable to reasonable people. They're willing to silence the voice of a 10-year-old victim, and they're willing to literally defend a rapist in their state.